Hi, my name is Sage Love, and I am here today to talk to you a little bit about who I am, what I do, why I do it, and a little bit about my background. So, where to start? I was born. Just kidding. I went to school and got my Master's of Theological Studies, and the focus of my program was to look deeper into what womanism is and what it means, and more about it because I'd heard about it a little bit, read about it slightly in my undergrad. And it's a movement that started because of Alice Walker and other academic women in the South, but it became a movement throughout academia that now affects multiple countries and throughout the diaspora. The short version is that my eyes were opened to a lot of things that I would not have really been as aware of had I chosen a different academic path. My undergrad says English studies, but in reality, a big chunk of what I was studying was African American literature, and that came to play in my thesis in my master program. So, yeah, I am very interested in culture. I'm very interested in the ways that we express ourselves, and I'm very interested in embodiment, how we embody our theology. And this is an idea that predominantly came from studying embodiment from a womanist perspective and how to embody the image of the divine, the Imago Dei in Latin, which the Bible talks about. We are all created in the image of God. And so for Black women, what that meant was embodying that divinity and recognizing the divinity within ourselves. And that really helped me because even though I'm not a Black woman, I went through a lot of trauma very young in my family, and I had pretty much accepted this idea that I just wouldn't really amount to much, right? And this was very similar to what I was reading about in the historical stories of people like Assata Shakur. Although obviously differences exist. She's a different woman, she had a different life. But when I was reading these stories, I saw myself reflected in them. And so that ended up fueling a lot of my academic passion. And then when I finished my master program, I graduated during the pandemic, which, not to breeze over, was very difficult for me. And so I started really getting deeper into Native American ceremonies and going to, I sat in peyote ceremonies, and I sat with someone with a chief from Peru and did an ayahuasca ceremony. But a lot of these were sober events. They weren't all medicine ceremonies. A lot of them were sober. And the ones I still attend for the most part are sober. Fire ceremonies and beautiful Native American ceremonies that I felt like, even though this was a totally different culture that I wasn't born into, it reflected some of the more pagan roots of my ancestors. And so from each culture that I studied in college or that I worshiped with or sat in ceremony with has really strengthened my own faith, because my own faith is really more like, I would say a patchwork quilt of different ideas that came from all kinds of different places that I have traveled in my life. And this doesn't always mean physically traveling. Sometimes it's reading a book and experiencing what this other person is writing about through the book. But the ancestral reverence was something that wasn't a part of my culture, but it came from African culture and some other cultures too, but it's very pronounced in African culture. And so I had this opportunity in college to experience going to classes with African American female professors and hearing their take on ancestral reverence in a way that I wouldn't have if I had not taken those classes with that professor. And so these opened my eyes to different ways of worshiping, different ways of being. And I've always been very culturally conscious of appropriation because of the fact that I have studied all the, well, maybe not every single way, but there's been a lot of ways in which appropriation has been a problem. And it tends to be people that look like me who are creating the problem because they don't really understand what they're doing and they're rushing in. And so I am not afraid to have conversations about what it means for someone who looks like me to be performing an ayahuasca ceremony that's not their heritage, and what the indigenous cultures that is their heritage actually have to say about that. Those conversations don't scare me. They don't at all scare me. They don't make me, I don't run away from them. I look at this as like we're all sharing the earth, and we need to do so with dignity and respect for the people who have taken care of the earth and the cultures that have come before us. And while we can borrow from each other from time to time in a way that's respectful, it's very important to me that I acknowledge if a practice is not my own, where it came from. So you'll hear me say things like, this is a Lakota idea that I learned from the Lakota people, or this is something that I heard from my Apache friend, or this is something I read in this book on womanism by Emily Towns. And if you haven't looked at anything Emily Towns has written, oh, I could give you such a book list, like such a good book list. And she's definitely tops it. She's one of the top African-American writers on womanism, for sure. Anyway, the short version is that I am really interested in collective and communal healing. And so I have studied Reiki with a Reiki master. I've just a number of different things, like as the spirit leads me, I am led. And so when the spirit says, open, this door is open, walk through this doorway, then I walk through the doorway. And when the spirit says, stay at home, reflect, think about why you're feeling the way you're feeling, I listen to that too. And so when I bring what most people would call, in my native circles, would call my medicine, when I bring my medicine to other people, it is who I am the medicine, and you are the medicine. And what the message that I want to leave you with is that the medicine is already within you, and the answers that you're seeking are already within you. And I am here as a guide to help you find them. And so if that looks like us doing a guided meditation where you silently have your aha moment and you realize what it is that you needed to see, then great. If that looks like a private one-on-one coaching session where I ask you questions to draw that out because you just don't really know, then great. But it's always going to be focused on what's working for you. If it's not working for you, we're going to find something that does. So if that tells you a little bit about who I am and about my background and why I do what I do, I know I said this would be short, but it's going to be about 10 minutes because I'm not finished. So the why I do what I do. Every single thing that I've ever been through has led me to this point where I am right now. That includes childhood traumas. That includes sexual abuse. That includes addiction. That includes overcoming both. That includes recognizing that I am not alone in my journey, and that there are other women that reflect back to me that same love and healing and the same pain, and that we can transmute that energy together, and that's what sets my soul on fire. So, didn't expect to get teary-eyed and a little bit deep, but I am a Scorpio and I am intense. And so my prayer and blessing upon you is that if you're watching this video, that you have received something of value, even if that's just to know you are not the only one. That there are other people who have experienced what you have experienced, and that you are not alone, and that not everyone who has experienced the things that you have experienced is going to look and act and talk like you, because you don't necessarily know who might have experienced those things, because it's not like we wear them on our sleeves. We often keep our cards close to the chest and don't show anyone what's really hurting deep down inside. I am the kind of leader who will bring that out, but in order that you might release it, not just to bring it out and leave you in this place of tears, but to release those tears because your tears are sacred. Your tears are pain leaving the body. Your tears are suffering leaving the body. So allow yourself to receive the healing that you need in whatever way that needs to come, whether it's with me or someone else or alone, or just in your silent prayers with your own understanding of divinity. However that looks for you, may the way be open and may your heart and mind be aligned. Namaste.